5 seconds late.
Oh, my watch must be slow.
All set here?
You're on.
Okay. This is Monday, August 7th, Tuftonboro Board of Selectmen. Call it to order. Will everyone stand and please pledge the flag?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with up to 10 minutes of public input. Which hand was up first?
Doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
Just wondering, is the road agent going to do anything on Federal Corner Road anytime soon? He hasn't done anything, and my husband spent 2 hours ditching this afternoon after the rain, or this morning after the rain. And the cracks are now so wide, they haven't been touched in years. There's now flowers basically growing up in them. I know you guys have been having some work sessions with him. Is there any chance at all that he'll be doing anything this year at all?
That's on the agenda to ask him.
I mean, it hasn't been touched for years. The road hasn't been touched.
We're meeting with him Friday.
Okay.
I saw another hand.
So last week, Chip, you and I got a little lost in the weeds about what types of things can be discussed in non-public, and I let the point I was trying to make drop, which was that Chris was not a public employee. So the specific exception that you actually didn't cite before going into the meeting, but you put in the minutes, was for public employees. And she wasn't a public employee, so in the future, as I asked you last week, just be more mindful. Because definitely for not citing a specific exception, that I could nail you on. But what I actually want is
because
that's not actually what I want. What I want is you to just follow the law.
Okay, and the law, if you know anything at all about the law, is subject to certain interpretations. And I have a tendency to interpret them in favor of the individual as opposed to what you'd like to have happen in that particular case. So if protecting the reputation of someone who's on a board, the personal reputation of that person, somehow offends your sensibility as far as public input is concerned, that's just an argument we're going to continue to have. And I hope you understand that it's not out of some sort of malice or criminality that I'm doing this. It is, I have to weigh the interest of what will the impact be on the individual that we're talking about, regardless of their status, versus what is the benefit for public information. So that's the weighing that I had to do, or that we have to do. And maybe sometimes we're going to come up against your interpretation of what should happen. And that's just the way it goes. I mean, I can't, I'll apologize for offending your sensibilities vis-a-vis the law, but I have to tell you that I'm not going to preclude myself from actually doing that analysis strictly because you have a strict constructionist view of a particular statute.
I think that would be a perfectly fine argument to have if you had cited the reputation clause, but you didn't, so.
So, shame on me.
Well, shame on Bill, because he's the one who made the motion and didn't cite anything.
We'll do better as we go along.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Do we see any other hands up? Review and approval of minutes. Do you folks want to do those or wait until Karen's back in case there's changes?
I think let's do them.
Okay.
I can give her a marked up.
Okay.
Any markups?
I didn't see
I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything
Out of
either.
the three, but what I will do is go in chronological order. I'll start Monday, July 24th. The selectmen's minutes for 4 PM. Any additions or corrections?
I don't have any changes.
I have no changes.
I have none.
Is there a motion?
So move.
I'll second.
All those in favor of accepting them as written, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. The next will be the work session meeting, the minutes for Friday, the 28th, work session, 9 AM. Any additions or corrections?
I have none.
I have none. Is there a motion?
I'll move to accept the minutes.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next I have is July 24th, minutes that were selectmen's non-public meeting,
Can I just see your copy of that?
6:21 PM.
I didn't see that happen.
What is the date?
Thanks.
That's the 24th.
That's it. That's 24th, yeah.
And those are unsealed.
They are correct. They weren't sealed.
Move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Move through that. Next item is signature file. The fire chief has a 4:10 appointment. What we'll do is we'll break away when he comes in. Signature file is the red. First item of business is a intent to cut wood for lot 45-4-39.
I'll move we sign it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
7.
Set. The next item of business is for a resident from lot 58-1-11. And this is a request for, let me read it. A veterans benefit. This gentleman qualifies for the veterans credit under the older standard veterans credit, RSA 7228, as he served since 5/8/75 and earned the Global War of Terrorism Service Medal. He was not eligible for 1917 as his application was not received until after April 1st.
2017.
Right, 2017, and he was, until after April 1st, he was not a resident for a full year preceding until 4/1/17. However, he is eligible for 2018. It is recommended that this veteran with both tax credits be granted approved for both tax credits for a total of $2,500 for the 2018 tax year. Is there a motion?
So move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We all have to sign it.
Yep.
Uh,
I want to make sure you saw it.
Yeah, well, we all sign.
There's one thing left to do, Bill, the electricity issue. Can we bring that up after the chief
Sure,
goes through?
absolutely.
Just like he's look. Chief Thompson, you want to come down? Good afternoon, Chief. How are you?
Good. So I had been asked to be put on the schedule to just touch bases to see the outcome as far as billing for the ambulance and the amounts that vehicles have to be billed.
I read the contract that you brought in. I don't know, that we didn't sign that yet.
There's no,
No, it's not. It's nothing
You
that
sign
had
it, right?
been, it's nothing that has been sent in to the company until a decision.
this is the contract, and the only signature has been his, the representative and yours, right?
Yeah, I was just a little confused about the collection. They're our agent for collection.
Yes.
They get the money first. But there's a 30-day period of time, and it was a few weeks ago that I read it.
I read it too.
It just seemed a little, a little hard to figure out who's. So we're gonna pay them 8% of all claims that have been filed.
For 1 year, it would be 8.5%.
So it's more than 8%.
For with a 3-year contract.
In exchange for services described herein, client shall pay enhanced management a fee equivalent to 8% of all revenues collected.
Right, that's for a 3-year.
contract.
Oh, okay.
So that would be changed to a 1 year, and it was 8.5%.
Enhanced management shall submit invoices to the client on a periodic basis established by enhanced management, so I guess we don't have any say in that. Invoices are to be paid by client within 30 days of the invoice date. Enhanced management reserves the right to add simple interest of 18% compounded daily on all accounts past due over 30 days. I'm trying to figure out how the money flows, because
The money comes to us, if I remember
So
correctly.
they bill.
They bill it, and the remittances come to the town. Is that right?
From what I had read is that they bill it, the money goes to them,
Goes to them.
and then
Yeah.
they either electronically
Mhm.
or however the town chooses, the check then comes to the town from there.
Right, because there's another thing about setting up a cash account through which all of this flows.
I think that's just what the chief talked about.
I know,
There are
I'm
some
trying to figure out
towns-
when it just seemed a little confusing to me that if the money's going into their account or an account established for us at their location, how we're ever gonna get into a situation where they're gonna charge us interest. I mean, they have control.
It doesn't sound like they're gonna charge us interest. I believe that
We're the client.
it would be that the people would get charged interest if the bill wasn't paid or if you chose not to.
Okay, so let's look at the definitions. Because who's the client? Name of client is Town of Tuftonboro. So it isn't like the patient client that's lying in the ambulance getting
Right.
transported, it's us. So that was confusing to me. And then the setting up of the account seemed a little bit, it furthered my confusion. I'm trying to find it. And so you taking a few notes
Yeah.
just to ask them.
Which page?
They, that particular one was on page 10, but the next one is on page 14, where this agreement may be assigned by enhanced management to any successors or assigns of enhanced management. That needs to have some language in it so that we can review the assignment.
Okay.
I mean, we know them, we don't know who they're assigning it to. And
What would you recommend, with permission of client or with approval of client?
yeah, I mean, we have to have some skin in the game when it comes to changing
Something more
rule or
than,
contract.
something of more than just.
So are we agreeing to, so it was 3 years on the first page.
Yes.
On the 15th page, it's 2 years.
The, what I had discussed with them after we had brought this in, you said that there would be a 1 year situation. They said that they would send out new contracts as far as the whole thing.
What page did you have about assignment?
Page 14.
14,
Under what number?
18,
17.
17. And then when we go on to 15, during the term of this agreement or for 2 years following its expiration or termination for any reason, employ, retain as an independent contractor or otherwise in any way hire any personnel currently employed or employed at any time during the term of this agreement by enhanced management. Client expressly agrees that in the event of a breach of this provision, enhanced management shall be entitled to a placement fee of 2 times the annual salary paid by enhanced management to such employee at the time such employee left employment of enhanced management. What we need to do when we're talking about breach of contract is we need to follow whatever breach of contract rules there are in the state. And we're codifying for our own purposes, paying their employee who may or may not be let go because of the fact that we're not hiring them anymore. I mean, what this is saying is that if we stop doing business with them and they have to lay off an employee.
No, that's not how I read it.
Okay.
What I read is that Joe Schmuckatelli, who works for them, handles our account.
Right.
Okay, so Joe talks to us and we say, well, how about if we just do it with you separately and not with enhanced
With the-
management.
That's how I read it.
And,
That's why
and
I-
so we hire him away, or we encourage him to go out on his own, and we'll be his client. And if that's the situation, where we're no longer an
Okay,
enhanced management client, but their former employee is now doing the work for us, then
okay.
there,
Don't,
that's where the non-compete comes
don't
in.
lawyers and accountants do this all the time, that I can't leave you as a partner and set up a shop right across the street from you? Sometimes there's a 50-mile or 100-mile limit. It's a competition.
Ask for some
clause.
clarification on that,
That's how I read it.
Yeah.
because I'm sure you're probably right.
But let's double
It's just
check.
not,
Yeah.
it's just not clear to me, and
Yeah, that's
I only
how,
got a
that's,
GED, so it's tough for me
that's
to
how I
read some of this
had
stuff.
read it, but I want to make sure that it's clarified as far as anything that we do with that.
And
Anything else?
lastly, on page 15, clause 20, we're doing business in New Hampshire. Hopefully they're licensed in New Hampshire to do this sort of business. I don't know that we want to be subject to all legal conflicts being resolved at the Court of Common Pleas of Montour County, Pennsylvania. That might be a little pricey. I don't know any lawyers in Montour County. Or the United States District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania. I mean, I think New Hampshire law has to stand here. We have to, and I don't think that the court in Pennsylvania is going to want to
Listen to us.
premise their decision on New Hampshire law.
Are you all done with this?
Yep.
But having said all that, I think it's a great idea that we get a billing company in there. I think we just need to have a good deal. That's all.
Yes, I think that it all needs to be clarified as far as
Yeah.
the different things.
And is anyone else in the state using them?
Yes, there's 13 different towns that are using them in the state. I found this company being referred to them by a consortium that was looking into companies, and that particular consortium of departments are signing on with them at this time. So they said that this is something you may want to get involved in or be part of as far as it goes.
So if they have that many people, or that many fire departments they're working with, or ambulance services, they must have a local fiscal agent, a local service of process. They can't run afoul of the business profits or the Department of Revenue, because they're gonna wanna have some taxation on whatever money they're making, because they're a business. So I'm sure they have in place all of the things that we need to make sure we can.
Right, and that was one thing as far as we looked at doing it ourselves. And unfortunately, it's not as simple as, just doing out a bill and doing that. You need to make sure that, that you meet all the regulations today with Medicare, Medicaid, and everything, the insurance
All the
companies.
coding.
They have all of the coding. So the, just the program to do the billing was like $15,000. And so it wasn't feasible. And that's, it was much easier to find a billing company that had a setup fee instead of charging you per month and did interest as far as, 8% or 8.5% versus charging, $250 a month. As I said, the company that we originally had dealt with, they were gonna charge us $250 a month and then like 6% on top of that. But then they said it was not worth it to them to do it. So,
Well, we don't know whether it's worth it to us to
Right.
buy the program until we get through this first 2 years.
Right, and as far as the amount that we transport, having a company like Stewart's doing our transporting, as far as it goes, we might transport, upwards of 10 times a year. So purchasing a $15,000 program is not not a good thing as far as it goes. I don't think it's economically feasible for the town, and I feel that this way is much more feasible. But as far as having the capabilities of transporting, I feel that that is a good thing as far as town-wise, because we've already had several cases that we've had back-to-back calls, the ambulances are not available.
Did you transport on that one that was down here by the store, that car accident?
The person in the car accident was with Stewart's, because it was one person in that, but that person was transported, yes.
But not by us.
Not by us.
Just my notes, Chief, are page 1, the setup fee, and I think this was handwritten on the top. The setup fee is $1,000.
It was a one-time.
And your next nearest competitor was $3,000, so you made a point to say there's a savings there. Page 9, item 10, compensation, instead of reading 8.0% should read 8.5%.
And that's just because the term changed. Right?
That's correct. Page 15, item 19-B, should read 1 year versus 2 years. Fourth item is page 15, item 20. I had licenses down, but any controversies are decided in the appropriate New Hampshire district, superior or federal court, right? Is that what you were coming from?
Right. We need to be subject to New Hampshire laws. We can't.
I missed one, and that is on page 14, item 17. There's the assignment question. And is it that we want to hold out for notification, or we're
Well, we
part of
just
the
want to be
decision
part of
process?
the discussion. I
Okay,
mean, at the very least.
yes,
I mean, they have, they, as they probably should, load the contract up with language that's favorable to them.
yes.
But it's got to be a point at
Well,
which,
it's the same as
if they decide they're going to assign this contract, we need to know who they're assigning it to.
It's similar to a house mortgage or a car loan. There's language in there that you will be notified if it's sold on the secondary market, right?
Right.
So that's a parallel to that.
And as far as ambulance-wise, I know that there are some people out there that had said that at town meeting, we bullied people or scared people into the ambulance as far as having it as a backup ambulance. It's being ran as far as on the medical calls as an ambulance. It goes out. We use the equipment off it for the patients there. If for some reason Stewart's can't transport, we can transport if needed. And that we found in some cases that we've get to places there's more than one patient. You may not have an ambulance available as far as it goes for a second unit. We don't pay Stewart's for a second unit. We're finding that we're doing more back-to-back calls now. So what happens in a lot of cases is that if that particular unit went out to the first call, and they're dealing with that, and we find that we don't have another ambulance coming in, or there's not one available for whatever amount of time, our people would deal with that patient for a period of time until Stewart's took the patient care over, and then our ambulance would go to the next call to do the transport. And our personnel that, because we go out and provide, you know, the basic or ALS patient care until the transport rig gets there.
So this is.
Some of our other personnel would be there taking care of them until that rig could.
This is functioning as a rescue vehicle as opposed to an ambulance?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was questions of why there was 2 ambulances going to every call, as far as it goes. It has all of, you know, a lot of our equipment on it as far as it goes. It's made to do patient care, and so it has the spaces to carry that. We do have, our rescue truck does have a cardiac monitor on it, and medical equipment, so that can take care of people also, you know, if needed. So if there was another call.
You know, it's hard to speculate, but do you see the presence of this ambulance having an effect on our future negotiations with stewards?
I don't.
I mean, well, I mean, it could have a
Well,
positive effect.
do I see a negative effect? No. A positive effect? I see that stewards as being very thin as far as personnel and ambulances. There's so many more calls that are happening in today's day and age that the ambulances are being taken out really quick. Yes, we're guaranteed 1 unit with our contract. However, we're not guaranteed anything beyond that. So that's on us to take care of. They've been, don't get me wrong, they've been very good to try to provide another unit if possible. But we had this weekend, from Friday to Sunday, we did 15 calls between fire, EMS, and, you know, emergency calls. And on one of the calls for a odor investigation in Melvin Village, believed to be propane with people having headaches and things like that, the ambulance from Stewart's, where they had already provided this one, the ambulance requested to be diverted to a more serious call in another town. And we said that's fine, because we had our ambulance en route and we could take care of that. It ended up being no issue, no one transported from the incident, but we were able to handle that. I also feel that we're not going to be with our backs against the wall like we were when the other company, Care Plus, pulled out. We will know whether or not that we could provide ambulance service to the town in the meantime of getting, if the town decides to, have another company come in, if that ever happened again. Before, we didn't have a choice. You know, if Stewart's didn't come in and say, okay, we'll do it at this price, we would have had to go with, you know, the other company that was going to charge $375,000 a year, because we didn't have any capabilities of transporting and things like that. And I feel that this gives us a good indication of whether or not that we could provide service for the town, you know, down the road if need be. We do find that there are some certain hours in the day that we may not be able to transport every time as far as that goes, because people might come out for, you know, an hour and a half as far as you know, to get someone stabilized, you know, if they were having a heart attack or something like that. But they might not have the time to do a 3-hour transport by the time that you get done. And you don't want to burn people out that way. But
Well,
I think it shows.
The only way that could work would be if, for the amount of money that we're paying stewards to do ambulance service, we could do the same job ourselves for
Yeah.
less money or the same money.
Correct.
But I think then you're hiring people and you're putting
Correct.
a bump
And we're
on-
trying, and it seems that the town doesn't want to go that way as far as it goes, so this is where we're at. But it gives us a backup of, you know, that we have a
Well,
way
we may end up
to
having to go that
handle
way.
it.
I mean, you just never know what the, I mean, the ambulance contracts are pretty least.
Right, and I'm
Changing
seeing, you know, other towns, like the Ossipes and places like that, looking at it, you know, as far as future-wise, of possibly having their own units. Because, when they get down to it, they'll be paying, you know, over $500 and something thousand for ambulance contract.
Right.
So, but, it all depends on how these local ambulance companies, you know, hold up. Obviously, Stewart's was bought by a bigger company. What happens after, you know, the 5 years that the local gentleman has control of it, no longer has control. Now, how much do they charge then? We have 1 year left in our contract as far as 2018.
Anything else from you folks on ambulance? A lot of work's gone into it. Can I shift gears, Chief?
Sure.
I don't mean to surprise you. I got an email from Chief Nick McCurry, M-E-R-C-U-R-I. He's from Department of Safety. And I don't know if you got a copy of it or not, but make a copy of that, and evidently it's about town halls and meetings and requests for information. I don't know how it got sent to me, but
Yeah, this is something I'm already signed up for.
okay,
It's gonna be held at MSD.
okay.
Senior.
Okay. The next is, I have a series of letters from Chris Fournier, who was involved in the, from HEB. And it started off with Sodom Road Bridge rehabilitation for $235,000 that the state said it was. Remember, I had some questions about it. Come to find out it's $525,000 because it's hazardous mitigation and all that. Have you been in contact with him?
No, that has
Okay.
nothing to do with me as far as the bridges and stuff like that. I have been in contact with our state rep, because I had a question of whether or not that the information you had put in a letter saying that you were interested in the grant as far as that goes. And I was wondering if that letter would also cover us because we missed the deadline for like a generator project at the townhouse, and they were going to look into that for me.
Well, on July 31st, there was a, from Chris Fournier, there was, it involved Karen and Chris, and that question was asked. I mean, it gave 1 day for her to get the paperwork
Right,
out.
that's why I say that we missed
And
it.
that's that letter there.
Yeah, I have a copy.
Sure. And then on July 31st was another one about President Trump has declared a major disaster area in New Hampshire. HEB is trying to help us, but the grant doesn't have to be specific for the March storm. She's been in contact with you, and again, it was Adam is also working on this and found some information, backup information regarding generators. So you're all on top of that.
Yep.
I didn't want any of these things to slip by the cracks.
No,
You know.
the question is open there when, obviously we had 1 day to come up with that.
Yes.
And we were out from 3 a.m. to 8:30 that morning, and I missed the deadline for August 1st for that generator. I needed some further information
Yes.
on that, but where you had already applied for,
That's that, correct?
yep, where you had already applied for money, the question is, could that letter be considered?
And this is
that where
Whitney
it's more
Welch.
than you? Yep,
And is there a Heidi that you've been dealing with?
Heidi Lawton.
I think she was in your office the other day, wasn't she?
Yes.
She seemed very pleasant. Well, again, thank you for your vigilance, so,
And I believe I heard that there's another round of, that there's another application deadline for this type of program
Well,
coming
there's
up in
something along the
December.
same line, but
Yeah.
it's a 50/50 matching grant. It's called the EMPG
Mhm.
matching grant. And so obviously the town pays 50% and the state or federal agency pays 50%. So we'll continue to follow up
Yeah.
with that. As far as mutual aid, Karen had put in as far as mutual aid in case there was any further questions for that. If there is, I can address that.
Well, I think that particular topic will continue to come up, and I'm thinking, when you mentioned Ossipee having an ambulance issue, and perhaps thinking about buying their ambulance similar to what we did, I think and you meet with those chiefs that are in your circle of friends,
Right.
if we could somehow solidify the mutual aid a little more, it's so much more financially viable to do things collectively than it is to do it individually. So for the town of Tuftonboro, we're okay, we bought an ambulance, but a lot of towns struggle a little harder with their finances. And we don't need an ambulance all the time, but I think there'd be a lot of complaints if we started doing ambulance service for Ossipee or Moultonboro or Effingham or whoever, unless there was some sort of quid pro quo going on. And I think that could be done under the model of the mutual aid, but it would have to have a lot more structure than the current mutual aid system.
Currently, as far as the amount of times that the ambulance has gone out, as far as mutual aid wise, it has been the case that there's been multiple patients, that the system has been overwhelmed as far as in whatever town. They have, the chiefs in our mutual aid have been very good about not requesting the ambulance just for your everyday call, which is something that I've asked not to happen as far as that goes.
I guess where I was headed was if we're paying $300,000 or whatever it is, and Ospree's talking about having to spend $500,000, and maybe some other town nearby is spending another $500,000. Pretty soon you got some serious money kicking around, but it's divided.
Right.
It's all in different places, but it's all for the same thing. And I think we start thinking in terms of how do we work together and not impact our budgets adversely. I mean, maybe something could come out, but I don't know.
It's definitely something to look at. As far as mutual aid to other towns, as far as in 1994, the town voted on March 8th and 9th. The town voted to be able for the fire department. Says to see if the town will vote and adopt New Hampshire RSA 154-24, outside service by local fire department, to authorize the town of Tuftonboro Fire Department to go to the aid of another city, town, or fire district within or without the state for the purpose of extinguishing fires, rendering other emergency assistance, or performing a detail as requested. The motion was made by Bill Antonucci and seconded by John Scott to adopt Article 167 and read the vote. Vote showed of hands affirmative, and article declared passed by the moderator. So in 1994, they had voted at the town meeting to be able to do mutual aid, which I feel that we're far ahead of some other areas that can't go out of state. But our town has actually voted to be able to do that, and to help our neighbors as far as that goes. I think that we need to be very careful about, I had heard some things about billing for airboats, and obviously ambulance-wise, that has its billing concept, it's going to be billed. But as far as airboat-wise, I feel that airboat is like any other special piece of equipment that some other town might have, for like a ladder truck or heavy rescue, things that we don't have. They don't bill us for that stuff when we use it, and so we don't look at billing them. Forestry calls, in a lot of cases, towns can bill for forestry stuff. Example, in Ossipee, with that multi-day fire that they had, most of the towns in our mutual aid didn't bill Ossipee for their people being there because they were part of the mutual aid. I feel that it's the same thing. If we had a fire, as far as Shaw or some large fire that we couldn't contain, the same thing as far as mutual aid wise. You might see some bills from areas that are outside of our mutual aid, but otherwise, you know, we just got out of the whole thing of being billed, you know, some time ago, probably in the John Scott era. Center Harbor used to bill if they came in for fires and stuff. We don't have that now because of the mutual aid agreements and stuff. So I think we need to be very careful about throwing around that we charge for the airboat and things like that, because other departments have stuff that we don't have. West Ossipee is our only other airboat that is in a fire department in the state of New Hampshire, and they're our backup. If something happens to us, they're coming to help us, type of thing. And we do the same with them. Boats around the lake. We have Alton. We have Tuftonboro. We have Center Harbor, Guilford. Any of the local areas that provide us summertime coverage for boats. You know, if we have a large fire on one of the islands, that's what they provide us, you know, down the road. As far as ambulance-wise, it's very limited. There's only a few departments in our mutual aid that have ambulances. Tamworth being one of them, Madison the other, and Alton has one, and then Wakefield. But you know, like Tamworth and Madison, they're kind of like us. Their people are basically called paid, so there's not someone there that's staffing those rates. So, but they would provide it to us if they could. But if there's anyone that has any questions about mutual aid or the ambulance stuff, I'm there at the station. I'll be more than glad to provide anything that I can as far as information to try to clear up anything that might be misrepresented.
Well, watch out, and I'm not going to protract this discussion anymore, that's already been protracted, but I would watch out, if I were in your situation, of sending my ambulance out to a scene and doing all the work, and then have stewards come in and pick the people up and take them in and get the billing. I mean,
Well, that's,
if you're going to do the work, let's say it's here in Tuftonboro, so we're not confounding it, but if you're going to do all the prep work and all the setup and get the people ready and stabilized, the drive to the hospital is less work, and yet that's the part that you get paid for. And if we're going to capitalize on this ambulance, I would say we try to do some transports if we can.
that's one thing that we had been told that no one wanted to have done, as far as
Well, it's just me talking.
Right.
I mean, maybe
so,
we don't
so
want
we've been
that.
so we've been very careful about not taking anything away from the company that we're being contracted with to transport unless it's necessary, type of thing.
Yeah.
If
I
we
just see
have
that's
multiple patients, and
that's
stuff,
an interesting dynamic that's getting set up, and
Yeah.
I just see it, you know, maybe it's going to become conflictual, maybe not.
Right.
But, you know, we're taking something away from them by having an ambulance. Well, maybe not. Maybe we're actually providing them with more
Right.
revenue.
And yes, we do 90. In the past, we did 99%. Besides that, we didn't transport because we never had the capabilities to do so in the past. But again, it's something that there was voices at town meetings or whatever that said, no, we don't want you to be the primary transport, but yes, if there was a need for a second ambulance and stuff like that.
Well, and I-
Shame on me again today.
No,
This is
I think we do.
Twice in one day. First Max and now the fire chief.
Yeah.
That's why we like
We do
to-
need to be
But-
aware that our contract with, that we pay stewards to be here and available for, one of the things that is a revenue stream to them is transport. Okay, so if in most situations where they respond, we're transporting and they're not, that the cost of our contract to have them in town is gonna go up because they don't have that other revenue stream out there. So.
It's just, it costs us something to respond as well.
Right.
But we,
And that's what I was trying to get
we
at.
responded with a rescue truck before we responded with the ambulance. We did the same thing then that we're doing now, other than we couldn't transport.
It's a different shape.
Now
of
we have the
it.
opportunity. But the other side of it is that we're not going, if we find a patient that is critical, that can't wait for a unit that's coming from Tuftonboro or Wolfboro, we're not gonna prolong transport for someone else to come in. That person's gonna get the care that
For
they
delayed
need.
response.
That's why you have an officer in charge.
And
to make those
that's
determinations.
where we're at with that. We're trying to make
Yeah.
the decision as we go
Yeah.
along. We're not going to get in a contest of who's gonna transport or who's not gonna transport. If it's in the best interest for the patient, then we'll make that decision for them to go with us.
Thank you, Chief. Anything else from you, Chief? Thank you for a long day.
No issues.
Yep.
And again, any questions, just come down. We'll try to take care of them.
I saw you were cleaning out the hydrants.
Yes. Yes, we're trying to
Have you
take
done
care
all
of
of
them.
them?
We've got a couple left, like the dry hydrant across the street, we sunk in some, so we have to take care of some tire tracks there, but we've done most of them. We found a couple issues with them.
Did you find a turtle in mine? Because
No.
my grandchildren were really worried about that.
We're
turtle.
worried about taking the turtle out.
They
I
have
don't
a
think we can
stringer.
suck him out, but thank you.
Thank you again for your time.
Chief also rescued a dog this week, so.
Yes.
Well, someone brought
All
a dog
right.
in
Yeah.
to us, but the PD picked him up like
Oh,
within a couple minutes and knew where his home was. So.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you.
Good job all around.
Thankfully, it wasn't one of mine.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the red file, which is signature. Bill,
You want me to
this
speak
is,
to that?
yes,
Okay.
this is reference electric agreement.
Right.
Go ahead, sir.
So we have been for several months looking at consolidating our electricity buy with a number of other communities. And LRPC is working on aggregating this and getting it out to bid. And this document is a memorandum of understanding that formalizes the intent on bidding out our electric needs together in order to receive a more competitive price. There's no risk in signing the MOU because in order to take advantage of any pricing you receive, your town will need to sign a separate contract directly with the energy supplier. And so at this point, the memorandum of understanding that they're looking to have signed is just to get us to the point of going out and getting the work bid. And the projections that I've seen suggest that they expect that the energy cost savings will be about 10%. So it's not a huge number in our town because we don't use huge amounts of electricity, but 10% is 10%.
Well, I'll make a motion that we have the chairman sign on it.
I'll second that.
I'm going to ask for a vote. This mimics the sample one from Nashua. Down there, they did a consortium, and everything he says is accurate. I've reread this. The other thing is, having me sign this today doesn't cost us any money, but Jeff Hayes, the executive director of Lakes Region Planning, boy, he's made a difference for Tuftonboro. So I'll move the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion-
Another example of what I was trying to say about mutual aid is that collectively you can sometimes do things a lot more efficiently,
Right.
Mhm.
because we're not the bigger place.
Okay, no continued business. Selectmen's updates.
I've been working all week.
I don't have anything new,
No?
so.
Okay, we'll go on to correspondence. I have already shared with Chief Thompson the Department of Safety information from Chief McCurry. And also he has copies of the 3 letters about hazardous mitigation and bridges from Chris Fournier of HEB. Next is GIllum Excavating. We voted to have him clean up the property. Please advise what line we're to take this out of.
Don't we have a budget line that says other town buildings or other town property?
Yes, that's what we took the wood for, that repaired
Right.
the entrance to.
So that would be my suggestion, is to put it in
Okay.
line.
We're all set there. Do you need me to get the account number, or?
I don't,
Okay.
and I'm guessing
Other-
that.
Yeah, we need you to get it.
Other buildings.
No, I'm guessing that Diane, could probably.
I will follow up
Yeah.
with her. Next, an August 1st letter, Library Capital Reserve Fund. Did you folks have a chance to read that?
I did.
Okay.
What position are we thinking of taking?
Well, if I understand what they're saying correctly, it's that the capital reserve fund that was originally set up to expand the library was subsequently replaced by one to not expand the library, but to build a whole new building. And since the funds that we're looking for now are along the lines of doing an expansion of the building rather than a whole new building, that these funds are not available because the capital reserve fund now is specifically
For a new building.
for a new building, not in addition to the existing building.
Okay.
So does that push us to March? I mean, I'm a little ambivalent about paying these people to do work prior to the deal coming through. I mean, historically, the way it has worked in my experience of public buildings is that all of this prep work is subject to the approval of the voting body to budget it. But those costs are just the risk that this person's gonna take by taking on the project. And we're paying as we go. There's been no bidding process that I can see as far as who's gonna do the project. So I'm a little ambivalent about paying them. I think they should just do the work and, accumulate their charges, and if the building goes up, then they get paid. I mean, they have no risk in this particular arrangement. And I guess they don't want to take any risk with Tuftonboro. But I don't know that we have an option to either do that or wait until next March to clarify the capital reserve to include a building upgrade rather than just a new building.
Right.
Well, we're talking about $7,896.75, which SMP architects have already done for work.
Right.
And I agree with you about doing construction or anything like that. But this town historically has said no matter what the project is, they want engineering, they want some
Oh, yeah, yeah.
renderings,
No,
they
they-
want test pits and things like that.
You have to do it on everything, but it is, I mean, I just remembered, for instance, the nursing home. We had all the architecturals done, all the engineering done, all the building plans done, and then we went for a vote. You know? So perhaps the library has funds someplace else that they can use. And they have their own money.
You want to contact the library, have some negotiation with them, or do we just have Karen do it, or what?
Well, I think they need to know at this point that,
We haven't received a check.
yeah.
Well, we're constrained by the
We're- we're-
vote of the
we're-
people.
Right, we're constrained by the current limits on the capital reserve fund. And that's not to say that town meeting can't adjust that, and they might, but we're
Well, I don't
6
think
months
they're
out.
gonna, you think they wanna cash out?
No, I say we're 7 months out from town meeting in
Right.
terms of
Right.
having clarification on that.
Right.
Okay, We'll
So-
we'll forward a copy of this to,
Yep.
And we're well past the date when we were assured we would have an answer of which direction they wanted to go.
okay,
So I'm still waiting for that.
okay.
And then we can, then we can go to battle. I mean, we can start fighting for the
It's
project.
a work in progress. yeah.
We haven't got an answer for them as far as what direction they're headed,
Right.
so.
All set on that topic?
For now.
Yep. There's no action we can take other than pass the memo on, correct?
Well, I think that we did take an action at some point, didn't we? So we need to undo that. So upon reflection, I think we need to revisit our vote to pay that bill. And say that, upon advice of the trustees of the trust fund, I'll make a motion. I'm gonna make a motion that upon advice of the trustees of the trust fund and review of the warrant articles and the current status of the capital reserve funds, that we were wrong in voting to pay that bill. And we should rescind that vote.
Is there a second?
For the sake of discussion, I'll second.
Okay.
And again, I can't game how this would move forward with them. I don't know if they have other funds to put toward it, but a commitment was made to expend funds based upon our expectation that they were available out of the capital reserve fund. It doesn't, that liability on our part is still there. So I'm saying, well, now you've done the work, but we can't pay you. Or we don't have funds available. Doesn't address the underlying issue, which is the work has been done and the invoice has been presented.
Right.
So simply reversing our vote at this point doesn't back everything out to zero.
Right. But I don't know that, okay, what would be our alternative then, I guess?
I don't know the alternative at this point, but I just think that saying, oh, never mind, which is essentially what we're saying, doesn't address the issue. Maybe we need to meet with the library trustees and discuss the situation, or have some interaction with them relative to this.
I have a question. Would there be any harm in that we table this motion? It forces us to bring it up with the trustees here.
Well, I mean, I think a non-vote is essentially the same action, so it's been seconded, but I think, I mean, I'm in agreement that we just can't let it lie fallow and do
Right.
nothing. My motion was to,
Move it along.
well, yeah, to move it along and to clarify the fact that, you know, everybody who seems informed about this says that we can't spend that money for this thing. So what are our options? I think the options happen afterwards. I don't think it nullifies the invoice, or it doesn't nullify our obligation to pay it.
It does not eliminate the obligation.
Yeah.
There's really 3 options, correct? Or 4 options. Number 1, we don't pay it, and that's it. Number 2 is, we ask the library to pay for it. Number 3 is, we take it out of one of our accounts. The 4th thing is that someone negotiate with SNP and say, on next year's budget, can we budget this? And when and if the library passes, at least you'll get some money.
All of which happens subsequent to here
Yes.
and now. So the question's on the table: do we vote to rescind our previous vote or not? And I'm happy either way, as long as we're moving forward on this thing, but we understand that we need to generate a meeting where these questions get answered, so
Right.
it doesn't.
You know, and for purposes of procedure, if the vote to nullify fails, it still doesn't change our legal responsibility and the trustee's legal position. So that's where I agree with you. There's a motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? The motion, if I understand it correctly, is to rescind our vote of a few weeks ago, correct? Correct. To pay it out of trustees' funds.
Actually, it was May, I believe it was, when we made that.
Right.
When we made the vote, when we initially voted, we voted to take it out of that particular line.
Well, are we ready to vote? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. 3.
Well, how did you vote?
Aye, excuse me.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so
We invite
am
them
I
in,
still
right?
gonna talk to them, or how do we invite them in?
Ask them to,
Have them watch it on the YouTube?
invite them in, sure.
Next Monday
It's a 9
meeting
o'clock.
is
Morning.
when the library makes their monthly report anyway,
Okay.
and so it's probably appropriate to extend the invitation to the,
Yeah. Yes, if we could
to
get
the
it cleared up
trustees.
this week.
Yeah, all right.
So-
Give me the wording on that motion again, since I'm the guy who's taking the notes today.
I'm sorry.
The wording on the motion we just passed.
The wording was to vote to rescind the initial vote that we took to pay the design costs for the library from the capital reserve account established for the library. But upon information from the trustee of the trust funds and a review of the warrant article, a motion that we rescind that first vote.
Okay.
Get all that, sweetheart?
Closing out.
Are we all set on that?
If I didn't, you can correct it in
I
the minutes
will.
next week. Right.
But we can't add things to the minutes. I just wanted to make that point. I was gonna make that point earlier when you were asking for, all we can do are corrections. We can't add things to the minutes.
If there's any.
One of the things that happened at the county after I left was the addition of information to the minutes. What happened, happened. You can't decide a week later.
It's the next group of minutes that takes the clarification.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
you are correct. Next item of business is, there's a group of letters here for resignations from the planning board, from John LaPola, Steve Brinzer, Tony Triola, Ed Meyer, and Fenton Varney. What action does the board wish to take?
I don't know that we have to take any action, do we? These are resignations of the board.
Don't we have to move to accept their resignation?
I suppose we can.
Is there any, I mean, it's sort of a moot point at this point. What if we move to accept their resignations and the motion failed?
Yeah.
Are we gonna command them to come to meetings? I don't think that's gonna happen. We don't have that kind of authority
No.
yet.
That's correct, okay. Transfer station internet is still in works. Larry Gill is still doing follow-up on the study of pharmaceuticals in the groundwater. The debris in the outlet channel at Merrill Lake was picked up by our road agent, and it was moved there by a couple of residents. Thank you. Correspondence from Terry Knowles, just following up on subdividing an old cemetery. This is from Mike Edgecombe, who now works for, he formerly worked for Time Warner Cable, now works for Sewell Company and offers some services. Did you read it?
No.
I looked it over, I didn't read it in depth.
Yeah.
You can keep moving along, I can read, listen.
Okay, next is July 28th is Tuftonboro Highway Block Grant for payment of maintenance and construction on our highways. We've received a total for 2018, we'll be receiving $83,578.44. Next is from Gina Lassard at Parks and Rec. A couple of questions for the selectmen. Number one, we'd like to know if maintenance of the pavilion at 19 Mile Beach is Park and Rec's responsibility. We've gotten a price for pressure washing, repainting, and polyurethane the ceiling of the pavilion. We have enough money in our budget for this year. Two, we would like to have the porta potties removed from 19 Mile Beach after the season temporarily so we can clean up around the area, pick up trash and trim the trees back and possibly reposition them. Okay to give her the go-ahead? Use her funds?
Fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that I have is kind of just correspondence. The schedule of Joseph Kennedy, and whatnot, things that we've been asked not to read because they're kind of boring. They're here for you folks. You have correspondence here to read. I think you already have. We're down to other business. A couple people have mentioned they've got to be someplace, so I'd like to reopen the meeting to 5 minutes of public comment.
There was, I'm actually asking on behalf of, I forget her name, but it was on Facebook, and she wanted to know why you had decided to clean up the Dore property. That's what the GIllum Excavating is for, is that correct? Was there, she was just curious, because
Because it belongs to the town and it's a health and safety hazard.
Okay. I mean, I've seen it, I agree with you,
Yes.
but.
And maybe someday we'll sell our property.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get the top dollar for it.
All set, all set. Okay, is there any other business to come before the
The
board?
reporter,
Oh, I do have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
That block grant, what was that for specifically? I have the number,
blocks.
but toys. Was that highways or?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
highway block grant,
Yes.
Okay.
Our portion of the federal gas tax.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep, all set for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Have a happy August. See you Friday at 9 o'clock.
At the highway garage. You need a call?
I'll talk to Karen. I'll make sure
No,
she
she's
does
She's on
it.
vacation.
Oh, is Diane in? Somebody's got to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's off
Diane's
today.
in.
So you're not coming here, you're going to the garage?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're having a work
What?
session at the
Oh,
highway
what?
garage.
What?
We're looking at the building
I want to look at the building.
maintenance project.
We're gonna do a perambulation. You gonna go for that
I'm
too?
gonna get you a GoPro, you put it on your head, and it should be
Boom.
a
Yeah, that'd be good.
In front of you so you can, you know.
Great.
All right.
And when
Like
you
those
fall
matters.
down, and when you trip and fall down, then we'll see that too.
What's that on Friday? 9?
These
9
guys-
o'clock.
These guys on the interweb. they just
On
confuse
Solomon.
me.
Yep.
Thank you for the
Three different GoPros, three different.
We don't have that.
I want a copy of.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. So it's been 70.
Because
Three
he and
years
I
ago.
are copies were real good friends. He had tremendous
Alright.
Because I heard photos down our
Yeah.
Would
No,
you
this
get
one's
Karen and she-
I think it's 51, 52. Yeah,
I had congenital heart
yeah,
disease.
yeah.
Polish, you know?
I
Bad
got
childhood.
I guess.
Okay. Are we done?
You're Polish?
No, my father-in-law was Polish.
Oh.
You're out of here in good time for,
My late.
For the next meeting.
I was gonna say, you
so,
speak anymore.
I
No,
get a
no,
chance
I-
to get some supper before I
English
get to
or
go.
German?
Yeah,
so-
me
How
too.
about
Yeah,
that?
I was wondering, should I bring her?
I'm convinced that my grandmother was
Yeah,
a German
yeah.
Jew.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
She was
I was,
adopted.
some snack stuff.
I just, you know, every time I watch Seinfeld or something, I just laugh too hard.
Yeah.
It's hard if you're hungry.
Well,
Or
and sometimes it's just more convenient to squeeze the meal out.
You can convert to Judaism for the jokes.
Sometimes
you know.
they.
Yeah, or I could just be a,
Oh,
no, a lot of Jews went
Yeah.
through this.
Which I try to.
I'm just one of those.
yeah, it's not all good healthy stuff, right?
That's right.
All right.
We actually, your wife reminds me of a Vappy. You know the Vappies up in 171?
No.
She looks just like one. I thought she was one. Linda and, what's it?
Where on 171?
You know, just past the castle,
Oh.
there's a farm. Russ Nolan lives there, Nolan Welling. He married Linda Vappy. That was Vappy's farm forever.
So,
Big construction company.
the one on the other side of the road
Yeah,
from the castle.
yeah, but it's
The
the house is on the right. The same side.
above?
Yeah, that's a
Put these
Vappy.
things out in Carroll.
Because we know the woman who lives there now,
Yeah,
Christina.
yeah.
Her last name is,
That's what her maiden name was. Because I'm sure it was.
Her name
No,
now.
her mother. That's right. That was Dick Vappy's sister, Merritt. Was her mom.
Christina Ashton.
Bastion, yeah.
So she's a cousin to Linda.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
So,
So her
I
cousin.
hate to be a
was-
Scrooge, but I gotta lock this place
Oh,
up. and
sorry.
I
Oh, sorry.
need to be, on my way. So apparently I'm locking up tonight because
Well, you're the
Karen's not
secretary,
around.
you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Get it.
Yeah.
The day